y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with your recruiting pal, Amy Miller, recruiting in yoga pants. Couple of caveats as we kick off this week's video. I'm sick, but I'm gonna power through and hopefully not sneeze too much, so forgive any weird noises I might make. Hopefully I don't lose my voice entirely before we're done. But also, most importantly, this is the second video I'm recording on this topic. I actually scrapped the first one. I'm recording this day before. I usually try to get a little ahead, but I'm late this week before I'm publishing, because I had a chance to really think about this content and this topic. So let me give you some backstory. Let me explain where I'm going with this through my head cold fog. Someone posted on LinkedIn recently, this is like last week or the week before, I forget. And basically I won't, the post has actually been deleted, which is kind of sad. This individual, I think, felt, I didn't see the comments, but apparently there were some attacking comments. And so this individual decided to just take down the post, which is really unfortunate, because even though I hated it and I disagreed with the content of the post, I think it's so important to recognize that this person was speaking from their personal experience and belief system, and we have to respect that. We have, even if I think it's absolutely crazy talk, I have to respect that this is coming from somewhere. This is coming from a perspective that has been formed through this person's experiences and knowledge and all of those things. So I can't tell someone that their opinion is wrong, right? Because it's your opinion. But I can hopefully provide context or appropriate pushback. There's never room for name calling or personal attacks, of course, to help folks reframe their thinking. So that's what we're going to try to do this week. And that's why I wanted to kind of recreate the video, because I want this to be a reframe of our thinking when it comes to job search advice and who do we go to and who do we trust. The post in question that kind of spurred all of this for me was basically that you should not take resume advice from recruiters. I believe the exact verbiage was something like recruiters should stay out of the do's and don'ts of resumes, or something to that effect. And I gotta tell you, I was really taken aback. I thought, wait a minute, the recruiter is actually the first line audience to your resume. You don't want to know what we think? I'm so confused. And so that was, again, just kind of, I thought, what the world? Why? I could not make that make sense. And then, oh, it gets better, there's more. And then a resume writer who I actually always kind of felt like we had a good rapport and got along, so I was really surprised to hear this. But a resume writer said, something like, well, there's 1.4 million of you and all of you want something different. Well, yes. So I still think this person's great. So please, just because I disagree with content doesn't mean I don't like the person. I do. But here's the thing. They're right. Okay, to a degree, and looking at it through a particular lens. If you're saying, I don't want to listen to recruiters about resumes because they all want something different, then I'm going to tell you that is absolutely right. But the missing piece here, the context that you're not taking into consideration, is that you have to hone in on the recruiters that matter. And there are two things that I want you to think about before you take advice from anyone, including me and any other recruiter out there. Number one, does this person speak from broad experience? Okay, and what I mean by that, because I see this all the time. I've been a recruiter for 5 minutes and I've hired exactly 4 people, and I'm going to tell you all about recruiting. Have a seat. And I certainly don't mean to diminish, early career professionals or the early accomplishments that many of these folks have achieved, but there's something to be said for wisdom and longevity in an organization or an industry. I've been riding my Peloton for about 2-3 weeks now, 2 or 3 weeks. I just got it a little bit ago. I am not going to pretend that I can educate anybody on proper bike form or which classes are right for you. I don't know. Just because I've successfully finished like 10 classes does not mean that I know enough to try to educate someone else on riding or whatever. Now, I can give you my opinion. I can give you my experience. I can tell you what I think is right for me based on where I'm at in my life and my health history and my, all of those things. But I don't yet have the expertise, because I just haven't done it long enough, to be able to educate others yet. So that's a little bit of a sidebar, but I wanted to kind of get that out. So let's go back to this idea around who do you get your advice from? So this context was, of course, specifically around resumes. I think that this is applicable to really any kind of job search advice. So, anything from initial outreach, networking, interviewing, salary negotiation, all the things. But we'll kind of hone in on the resume piece since that's what started this. The reason why so many of us have different suggestions is because our audiences can be very different. I work in big tech. I recruit for very specialized engineering roles. Now, what's interesting, and many of you know this if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm actually pivoting to a very different kind of talent. So I've spent the last several years hyper-focused on engineering. And that's a very different, specialized kind of skill set, white collar professionals, hundreds of, competing offers. I mean, it's a different kind of recruiting. I'm now pivoting to this high volume manufacturing production world, which is actually where I started my recruiting career 25 years ago. So it's kind of like coming home in some ways. And my advice for those candidates is going to look very different. They don't have to worry about, prepping a portfolio of their hardware designs, or the interview process, in fact, is much shorter. For example, right? My engineers will see, 5 people. My assembly technicians are probably going to meet 2. So, I mean, that's obviously the preparation for those interviews is going to look different. So, yes, of course, each recruiter, each organization, each team, each type of profession is going to have their own standards. So my suggestion to you is don't just discount all recruiting advice because it's not geared towards you. Okay? So again, the interview prep that I'm going to provide my technicians, and I've already started building this out, looks very different than the interview prep I provide my engineers. My resume advice as well looks very different. Now, there's been complaints about not having a standard. Why can't you all just decide? So for me, this is like cooking. I've got another bad analogy for you. Okay. So let's pretend that I want to enter a pie contest. Anybody have like county fairs growing up? My Midwestern is showing. But you ever have those where like your grandma bakes an apple pie and puts it in the fair and comes home with the blue ribbon or some shit? Yeah, no, just me. Okay. My grandma never did that. She was not she could cook, but she was not that warm fuzzy type. Anyway, back to the topic. Okay, so let's say I want to put a pie in my county fair. Okay, I'm gonna put it in front of the judges and hopefully win a ribbon, maybe some prize money. And as part of preparation for this event, I'm going to study the rules. I'm going to read the description, the job description, shall we say, for this pie entry. And maybe it has to be a fruit pie, it has to be homemade, it has to, maybe there's certain criteria, certain size, certain, ingredients, what have you, all natural ingredients or whatever. Okay, and that's fine. The judges who will be tasting your pie get to set those parameters. Now, those standards and those expectations are going to look different than the barbecue contest the next tent over. So a barbecue contest might be, it has to be some kind of meat, chicken, beef, or pork. It has to be, cooked over open flame, no gas grills, just charcoal or pellets or whatever. And so there's going to be those guidelines, those rules, those expectations. So you can't enter a pie into the barbecue contest and expect to win. But does that mean that the instructions provided by the barbecue judges should be completely ignored altogether and you just shouldn't take any advice from any judge ever? Of course not. So if I'm entering a pie contest, I'm going to follow the instructions of the pie judges. If I'm entering a barbecue contest, I'm going to follow the instructions of the barbecue judges. Is there a standard between pies and pulled pork? Probably not, except everybody should start with clean dishes. Everybody should use, general hygiene, cleanliness standards, right? Everyone needs to have their materials submitted, by a certain day or time. Everyone should follow safe food handling protocols. So yeah, there are standards. So what does that look like in resumes? Clean format. Concise, language in the resume, talk about your accomplishments, talk about what you've done. Make sure it's geared towards the audience. Make sure you're actually showcasing, yes, I'm a fit for the role I'm applying to, because those are common standards that every resume can benefit from. But then when we start getting into the particulars, an engineering resume or a pie is going to look very different than a welder or pulled pork. Don't throw out all the advice because you're taking all the advice. You have to hone in on the people who can actually get you where you are trying to go. That is the number one piece of advice I have regarding job search. It does not matter what I think. It does not matter what any recruiter on the planet thinks. If that recruiter does not have the authority to get you in front of a hiring manager. Now, I created this channel because I wanted to bring those big concepts, those conversation starters, those questions that you can ask to be more effective in your job search to the masses, all 7,000 of you who subscribe. Gosh, we're just a baby channel, aren't we? But that doesn't mean that every single thing I say is meant for every single person who watches. I understand that I'm not going to be the solution for everybody, and that's okay. If what I'm sharing resonates, if what I'm sharing gives you food for thought and gives you a starting point to know who to ask, what to ask, when to ask, then I've done my job. So don't fall for the pendulum swing. All right? That's ultimately the point I'm trying to get across here. Don't fall for the all or nothing. I have to listen to every single recruiter, even when they contradict each other. Nope, I'm not going to listen to any recruiter. The truth is somewhere right in the middle. I'm going to listen to the recruiters or any other job search authority who knows what they're talking about, who has the background, the success, the experience to back it up, who gives advice that is specific to my situation. They understand my industry, my level, my background, my career goals, whatever. And they're leaving room for all of those nuances that exist in recruiting. There's no formula, sadly. There's no clear, well, 2 + 2 = 4 and that guarantees me a job. It doesn't work that way. Hiring, unfortunately, is still subjective, still based on the interest and understanding of people and the information that we are providing in both directions. Okay? So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Listen to the judges who, again, understand your problem that you're trying to solve, work in your industry or adjacent to your industry, and have the background and experience that they can draw from to help you navigate your job search. All right, so again, bit of a longer video this week. I should just give up on 10 minutes. I don't think I've hit 10 minutes for years. But I do want to give this, again, this is such an important topic and one that I know weighs on job seekers and just, God, there's so much misinformation out there, and there's so many of these snake oil salesmen who are just trying to convince you, well, just give me $5,000 and I'll solve all your problems. It's guaranteed. I don't believe it, and I don't think you should either. So I hope that helps. There's lots of other videos here. I'll put this on the resume playlist to start. There's also other great videos about how to network with recruiters, how to jumpstart your job search, how to understand the process, questions to ask during interviews. I've tried to cover as many recruiting topics as I possibly can. So please take a look at all the things that are available to you for free. Check out the website, recruitinginyolepants.com, for free templates around recruiter questions, interview questions, salary negotiation, anything you can think of. If there's something I have not addressed that would be helpful for you, please send me ideas. This channel is for you. This is for the job seeker who does know where to turn and is really tired of all the gameplay and people just trying to put their hands in your pockets. All right, so I hope that helps y'all. As always, thank you so much for sticking with the channel, sticking with me over these years. I'm gonna go take a nap and we will see you next week.